Bones and All is a love story. It's a story that chronicles a coming of age for Maren, who's played wonderfully by Taylor Russell, but it's as much about falling in love, first love. From when we developed the script with Luca and Dave, it was the peak of COVID, and I think something that was relevant to all of us was being isolated. Everyone in the world, that was their experience, and this idea that absent religious focus, if you have that in your life, or a strong community, which a lot of people didn't have during COVID, your reality was the story you told yourself to get by on, how to make sense of what was going on in the world. And I thought there was something very powerful in those stories of isolation. I felt that cannibalism, their eating condition, I felt was a strong metaphor for, either childhood trauma or addiction or just carrying something that you can't quite make sense of or carry shame with. And I was attracted to this character of Lee because I felt he had created a delicate glass castle of himself in his expression of dyeing his hair or clothes or the way he understood the world or in his belief that he really had figured out how to game the system to survive with this condition. But his biggest vulnerability, like a lot of people's biggest vulnerabilities are when they spend so much time alone, is true love, is real love, is support, is care, kindness. So when he finds that with Maren, it's his greatest strength in many ways. It's the opening of the colors of the universe he has never gotten to experience, but it's also, without giving anything away, it's probably the hardest thing for him to go through, because in those moments where you're able to fall for someone else and you look more closely in the mirror, I think what he sees is terrifying. I think it's an on-the-road love movie inspired by the likes of, and not claiming to be on the level of, but nonetheless inspired by the likes of Badlands and True Romance, and not so much of the modern twist because it takes place in the '80s, but maybe a modern sensibility of, the weight we carry now as a younger generation, and the sort of despair a lot of people live in with global warming, and there's a war in the world, there's post-pandemic, lots of stuff. Yeah, Luca is, no matter how pretentious the word, is a true auteur, and he's directing from the sensibility of his cultural upbringing from his youth. And that is way different than mine, is way different than yours, and he's strong to that perspective. And he's deeply passionate, and yeah, as you said, to have, to have that fraternity with him, and also, yeah, that collaborative relationship, it's probably the greatest gift of where I am right now. So Lee, we see him for the first time in a supermarket in Ohio, and Maren has been on the road for a couple of days alone for the first time, and she sees a recent mother being aggressed by a drunk man in a store. And Lee sees Maren see this happening, and see this happen rather, and he wants to step in, maybe make a good first impression. It was a joy working with Taylor. She's an extraordinary actress. She's somebody for a number of years that I had been aware of, and she did a movie called Waves that she was amazing in. And she's got a great spirit. She's open for anything, willing to try new things and scenes. And she really, obviously, if you saw the movie, brings the emotional heat it really needs. And was receptive to everything. Was really like a sponge. She was receptive to everything. And it was just a joy working with her. I hope we get a chance to do it again. Yeah, well, they're both outsiders, and I think Lee's maybe self-stylized as an outsider being his identity, and to Maren it's new. And, similar to the way Michael Stuhlbarg's character addresses Lee, it's sort of a, how do you put it, like a house of cards that he's built for himself. So, though Maren doesn't consider herself an outsider, maybe perhaps for that very reason she's able to navigate it better, because Lee thinks he's supposed to have it all figured out. Um, he's, maybe deluded himself in many ways, um, and they're great for each other because when you're young and in love, or I've said this before, but it's you're searching for who you are in other people, almost as if they're a mirror for how you want to be, who you want to be. And I think it confirms great things for both of them, and I think particularly for Lee, it hurts in many ways too. Yeah, well, I think Mark Rylance and Michael Stuhlbarg, they bring that sense of excellency to the story, to the cast. They're both, highly successful actors in film and TV and theater. They have a strong relationship amongst them as well. The impossibility of love, I guess. I would say the main theme of this film is the impossibility of love. The cannibalism for me was a metaphor, as I said before, for some combination of childhood trauma or addiction, or the demons that people carry in life that they can't shake and that they can't forgive themselves for not shaking. And obviously, if you were confined to eating people, that would be an extremely normal thing to feel guilty about all the time. Uh, and so I think it's an effective story point in the movie. But in life, uh, there are things that burden people that they shouldn't be burdened with, and that in love, in the safe space of love, you can work through. I think I'm most excited for audiences to experience, a story that sincerely is zigzagged and goes in whatever direction it wants to go based on the whims of Luca Guadagnino, and I think that's rare now.